Hello, friends. Travel with me, if you will, back to the PTSD that was 2020. While many of us were focusing on our bread making chops, we had a particularly intense week from a racial perspective in the spring. There was a story about an alleged Central Park Karen who got into a verbal tiff with a bird watcher that ended up with a dog being choked, right? Most importantly, this incident brought the topic of race front and center again. This one hit me a little bit hard because, as the mother of a mixed race, self taught bird watcher, which I didn't know was a thing, and a 6'3" black man who is still single, ladies, by the way, it kind of sent chills down my spine. Frankly, the bird watcher seemed a lot like me. Um, Brought up nicely, had a good job, definitely not the type of guy who walks around with the chip of race about his shoulder. Ugh, that word race, right? It kind of reminds me of that scene in The Lion King when Whoopi's hyena starts saying Mufasa. It's like race. Anyway, try to stay with me for a bit, folks. You've got 10 more minutes on that Peloton for sure. Now, at this point, I'm sure you have a few questions. One, why do I care? Two, why isn't she wearing any makeup? I'll answer one. I think we can all agree that this world is going through some things, and there are, quite frankly, enough bleep holes out there. I'm pretty sure you, like I, don't want to be responsible for putting yet another one out there. And to answer that second question, autoimmune exhaustion and bloating is real. And my husband's right. My makeup is expensive, and it happens to be hidden in the trunk of my car right now. Listen, I spent 30 plus years being the proud token minority friend, explainer of hair, and swim team / spring break outlier. Now, one of the many things that I detest about social media is that everyone's an expert. My old barista is apparently an international policy expert. Our old cleaning lady is a makeup guru. And apparently, that guy that I kissed sophomore year of high school that dropped out of Boulder, apparently he's an infectious disease expert. Listen, this is not always a glamorous subject, it can be uncomfortable, but the thing is, your lived experience matters here. This is one of the few times and places on social media in which both facts and feelings matter. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that things here on planet Earth have gotten, well, a bit extra around here lately. Things have gotten a little bit vintage and not in a good, like, Chanel way. So I think we can all agree that something went down with AC. We just might not agree on the details. But let's all take a beat and not pile on quite yet. We all actually have a lot in common with her. For example, she's academically accomplished. She's professionally accomplished. She's an urban 30-something. And many of you folks watching this today, myself included, aspire to make our kids, quote unquote, accomplished in that way. Why else would we be spending all of this money on private lacrosse lessons? So what is the point here? It's about kindness. I can't be the only one rolling my eyes when the school sends some sort of email about the kindness curriculum happening. It's nonsense, quite frankly. People are confusing politeness with kindness, the same way they confuse an authentic Gucci bag with a Canal Street Gucci bag. Neither one of these things are interchangeable, okay? Listen, I would rather a child learn how to be authentically kind and considerate of others rather than an artificially, quite frankly, phony person. Take this from a person whose youngest child urinates on the neighbor's lawn on a regular basis, but would cut off his hand to save a friend, a puppy, or his big brother. A reminder, we can also get rashes from those Canal Street bags. Cheap leather, I'm just saying. It's about exposure. A few weeks ago, I was waiting for my youngest son after school outside the school building to pick him up from an enrichment activity. There were several kids out there, including, I guess, one of the other black kids who I don't know. And one of the kids said, "Oh, you must be so-and-so's mom. Hey, so-and-so, your mom's here." The old classic, just because there are two people of color within a 5-mile radius, they must know each other. To be honest, it did make me question my fashion choices. Perhaps I'm not thin enough to pull off the mom jean look anymore, and I need to ditch it because I must be looking like Obama at a baseball game. But the other thing was, this would not have happened if this child had exposure. Listen, I know it's not fair or realistic for everyone to take off and to take their children on exotic vacations. That's not what I'm asking people to do. But it would behoove people to maybe know someone, and I mean really know someone, that is quite frankly not like you, that doesn't look like your family. Someone that is not only from a different race, but maybe ethnicity, hair color, whatever it is. Take it from someone who was routinely mistaken for a work friend at all of my college friends' weddings. Their parents were shocked that they seemed to know a black person. You know, I used to roll my eyes when people would talk about representation and representation matters, et cetera, et cetera. But now I kind of understand it. Again, that child, if they had real, genuine exposure to people that look like me, be it in books, dolls, family friends, not a nanny that's working for them, that incident most likely would not have occurred. Finally, my friends, inclusivity. Listen, it's not just the social media, it's this culture prioritizing the self. It's like it's cool to not consider others and to think of yourself. No one's asking you to run down to a soup kitchen with a dashiki on, although that would be nice. But when kindness and exposure and all of these things work together, all of these challenges become muscle memory. Focusing on our differences does not have to become a thing, right? Because there's a mutual understanding and inclusivity that is normalized. Note, this does not mean that we should stop learning history, okay? Knowing that Frederick Douglass is in fact deceased and is not actively posting on social media is a good thing. Finally, my friends, inclusivity. Listen, it's not just the social media, it's this culture prioritizing the self. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to the musings of this geriatric millennial. Let's keep the conversation going, but first, let's get me some hair gel.